On the night of June 13, 2025, Israeli jets and drones entered Iranian airspace and struck military bases, missile factories, and nuclear sites with a precision that stunned the world. Roughly 15 senior Iranian commanders were killed in a single night. When Iranian intelligence began investigating how Israel had obtained such detailed information, old photographs started surfacing. And there she was, a European woman smiling next to the same men who had just been eliminated. She had been inside the regime for years, and no one had suspected a thing. Her name is Catherine Perez Shakdam. She was born in France into a Jewish family. Her maternal grandfather fought against the Nazis during the occupation of France. Her paternal grandfather survived the Holocaust. She studied psychology, earned 2 master's degrees in London, and spoke 5 languages. But what made her different from any other political analyst was a decision she made while still in college. She married a Muslim man from Yemen, converted to Sunni Islam, and moved to the Middle East. The marriage ended in 2014, and she was given custody of their 2 children. That is when the story started getting strange. Around 2015, Catherine resurfaced, but now as a Shia Muslim. She wore the black chador, the long dark garment, spoke of Iran's leaders with deep reverence, observed prayer times meticulously, and wrote articles defending the Iranian regime with fierce conviction. She published books on Shia Islam and soon began receiving invitations to important meetings in Tehran. And suddenly she was inside. She interviewed Ebrahim Raisi, who later became the president of Iran, and traveled with officials on state missions. She was photographed alongside the daughter of Qasem Soleimani, the most feared military commander in Iran. And most remarkably, the articles she wrote began appearing on the official website of the supreme leader of Iran, the man who ruled the country for decades and who died recently. Now, Catherine did not enter Iran by force. She entered through trust. The regime began trusting her because they believed they had found a useful Western voice, a European journalist who spoke against the United States and Israel, and who could lend an appearance of international credibility to the government. They were deeply mistaken. Catherine got close to the wives of Iran's most important military commanders. She visited their homes, attended family gatherings, and religious celebrations. And while she chatted about everyday life with these women, she was quietly gathering information that no satellite in the world could capture: where their husbands traveled, where they lived, and where the most protected sites were located. According to reports that emerged later, she mapped critical military locations using covertly taken photographs and secret messages embedded within seemingly ordinary articles. Every piece she published may have contained coordinates invisible to anyone who did not know how to read the code. On June 13, 2025, Israel launched what became known as Operation Rising Lion. Aircraft and drones entered Iranian airspace overnight and struck military bases, missile factories, and nuclear facilities with a precision that left the entire world in shock. Approximately 15 high-ranking Iranian commanders were eliminated in that strike, and Catherine had disappeared 3 days earlier on June 10th. Iran went into a state of panic. When Iranian intelligence began investigating how Israel had such detailed secret information, old photographs started surfacing. And there was Catherine smiling beside the very same men who had just died in the strikes. She had photos with generals, politicians, and even the supreme leader himself. The regime erased every article she had written from the official website of Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. They plastered her face on posters across the city of Tehran. The government launched a relentless crackdown. At least 3 men accused of helping her were executed and dozens were arrested. Former President Ahmadinejad went so far as to claim that even the head of Iran's unit tasked with hunting the Mossad was in fact an Israeli agent. All because no one would have suspected that woman could be behind it. A former Iranian intelligence minister admitted that Israeli agents had been closer than they ever imagined. And to this day, no one knows where Catherine is. The government called this case the greatest human intelligence failure in their history. And what was most humiliating for them is that it was not hackers, satellites, or modern technology that caused all this damage. It was a single woman with a smile on her face and a free pass into the living rooms of the most powerful men in Iran. The most suspicious regime in the Middle East was just defeated from the inside out by a woman they themselves let in. So why does any of this matter beyond politics? Because remarkably, this story closely mirrors something that already happened before. In that exact same region of the world, for thousands of years, Israel has lived surrounded by empires that tried to destroy the Jewish people: Egypt, Babylon, Persia, Rome. The names change, but the pattern repeats. And yet, against all odds, this people still exists today. That is because the Bible says God made a covenant with Abraham, with that people, and said that even when they were scattered across the world, they would never be completely destroyed. This is where the story goes beyond geopolitics. There was a time when the Jewish people were living scattered throughout the Persian Empire, which occupied the territory of modern-day Iran. And a man named Haman, who was the king's right-hand man, decided he would wipe out every Jew in the empire. He obtained an official decree from the king authorizing the death of all of them. Everything was set. But what Haman did not know was that God had already placed someone inside the palace before the crisis even began. A Jewish woman named Esther who was hiding her true identity. She was the queen of Persia, and the king had no idea she was Jewish. And the situation was even more dangerous than it sounds. Under Persian law, anyone who appeared before the king without being summoned could be executed on the spot. Esther knew this, and yet she chose to go in because she understood that if she stayed silent, her entire people would be destroyed. When Haman's plot was exposed, Esther risked her own life, revealed who she truly was, and interceded for her people. And there was something even more dangerous about that decree. Under Persian law, once the king signed a decree, it could not be cancelled. Not even the king himself could take it back. The result was that Haman was executed. The king then issued a new decree giving the Jews the right to defend themselves. And so they were saved from within the very empire that wanted to destroy them. The Iran of today is not just any enemy of Israel. According to the Bible, it is one of the key players in what will happen in the last days. The prophet Ezekiel in chapter 38 describes a coalition of nations that will rise against Israel in the end times. And the text names Persia as part of that group. Iran funded Hamas, armed Hezbollah, supported the Houthis, and built what analysts call an axis of terror with arms stretched across the entire region. And now, with Israel having eliminated Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei, it has become even clearer that this regime, despite appearing so powerful, had been weakened from within for a long time. And there is more. Iran has persecuted Jews and Christians for many years. It imprisoned pastors, shut down churches, and killed those who converted. House churches are raided. Children from Christian families are forced to study Islam in school. And today, Iran is the country where underground churches are growing faster than anywhere else in the world. Here is what stands out about all of this. There is a pattern that repeats throughout history, and it is written in the Bible. When a power rises against a people who carry the promise of God and tries to destroy everything, God does not need an army bigger than theirs. He only needs one person placed in the right spot. The Bible says in the book of the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 49, regarding God's judgment on Elam, which is the southwestern region of modern-day Iran, that the Lord would break the bow of Elam, which was the chief source of their power. But at the end of that same prophecy, God said something surprising, that in the last days He would restore the fortunes of Elam and set His throne there. Notice that. Destruction and restoration at the same time, judgment and hope. That is exactly what we are seeing today. A government that persecuted God's people being dismantled from within, while an invisible church grows in the very same place. Now consider this. If God placed a Jewish woman at the heart of the empire that swore to destroy His people, where has God placed you? Think about it. Because perhaps the place where you find yourself today, the work you do, and the people around you are not an accident. Perhaps you are exactly where God needs you to be to do what He has planned.